You know, the very first combined senior leadership seminar we had for the Texas National Guard at the time. Didn't invite the State Guard, brought the Air Guard, made the Air Guard go. You will go. And when they came back, it was awful. There was a certain command sergeant major a few generations ago, a lot of generations ago, and all he did was yell at the Army. And the Air was there because they had to be there. And they were seen but not heard, spoken to, not listened to, and it created a further divide between our organization. The best thing and the worst thing that happened to us was Hurricane Dolly. Silly leadership in Texas said, hey Nichols, you go lead the Army in this task force deal we're going to do for Hurricane Dolly. I didn't speak Hua, I speak Hyatt. Okay? So we have cross-generational gaps. The best thing I did is I picked now General Hamilton, then Colonel Hamilton to translate for me. Because the way we did things in the Army and the Air, and they still are different, but they're different for purposes. We can't be the same, but the thing we share is leadership and putting people first. So the first thing I did, I didn't know what a chief of staff does. The Army guys would go like, you don't? I said, no. We have operations officers, we have squadron commanders. So I was trying to figure out what that was. And in my mind, in our world, the chief of staff is basically the operations officer. They make stuff happen. The squadron commander looks pretty, kisses babies, and gives credit where credit's due, tries not to take it. So we worked through that, but what happened was we had a cross-pollination. Because I saw that we were short on things. We needed operators. And what's an operator? Does that mean a fighter pilot? Some people think that's it. We need people who could do operations. So we have a thing called the Maintenance Operations Center. We have the I used to be called a ramp rat out on the ramp, but we have folks that make airplanes fly and help people get to that. In a hurricane, we have to go set up ponds. We have to go supply this. We have to make sure this task happens. We have to take all the needs of the people and do that. So I brought maintenance operations folks in. I brought senior NCOs and I brought some lieutenant colonels to help get green while I was getting green, and also to help blue the green. And then we mingled with the State Guard, whoever they were. We only barely knew them on the air side. So we've come a long way since then. And we kind of have a little mixture. What I challenge these guys to do is to give everybody a number, and you have to find your seat number, and you weren't going to sit near anybody you knew to force you into it. But I will tell you, the very first time I really saw us come together was when we started doing Best Warrior, and we actually invited the Air. Now, at first the Air was like, we don't do that. It's substandard. I'll go to my queue room. They go to a tent. They put that. That was the kind of feeling I was getting out of the deal. So then we cheated and we sent the JTACs. But they're like, what's a JTAC? Well, you'll see. We're scared of them too. And then since then, we've blended in and blended in. Now we have finance people, because for us, finance, combat finance. I'll tell you what, the Airs learn probably more from the Army than vice versa. But the very first time they met, green guy here, blue guy here, it didn't rub off. They were afraid to touch each other or be around because they're just different. And then after the first event, when it sucked and they're all tired, then they were the same. And after that, we figured out there's a lot more sameness to us because it's right here, not what you weren't here. Yesterday we had a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. What I found interesting is we have people. You may think that everybody with a last name like Diaz or Sanchez is from Mexico. How about Ecuador? How about Peru? How about Colombia? How about Puerto Rico? How about Cuba? So just amongst our Hispanic force, many differences in people. So what do we do a lot of times? We look at this or we look at this and we make a judgment. That's not our job. Our job is to see I don't know what I want to call it, but a person, period. A blank, even you, Sergeant Major. But you're not wearing a color, you're not wearing the color of your skin. You are that person. that is an American citizen who's chosen to serve your country and your state, and we got to make sure we keep that straight. So, you're in innovation land. Anybody got any gasoline on them or anything like that? You know what I'm getting? You don't know where I'm getting to, do you? There's a lot of sparking going on around here. That's the only innovation term I know. But if somebody talks to you about sparking, they don't need to be Smokey the Bear. They're sparking ideas. They're coming up with ideas. And there's no boundary here. This building could have 75,000 floors on it because these folks that are working these innovative ideas are just, the sky is the limit. And that doesn't work for us that well, does it? Are we good for changing? How about just changing the joint staff? Going back to where we should have been, but we allowed ourselves to morph into something else and we're going back to where we should have been. And it's painful because it's change. Imagine these guys who want to change 3 times in 20 seconds. Can we keep up with that? I'm not saying that we can, but I'm telling you, don't be afraid to get on that train. You know, one of the things that we did, and I'm going to take credit for this. Before Hurricane Dean hit, that was even before Hurricane Dolly. Cat 5 hurricane coming to Texas. Nichols in charge, scared to death, don't know what I'm doing. Pretty sure everybody else knows that. But one of my favorite sayings, and I think I made it up, so I'll take credit for it. No one person in this room is smarter than all of us. So I looked at a couple specialists, and that's kind of how the air was in those days, and still is. The sergeants majors did not want me to look at the specialists. They wanted me to talk to the sergeant major. They talked to this sergeant, they talked to this sergeant, and they talked to the specialist. I said, no, I want to talk right to the specialist. And I said, our job today is to protect Texas. This big hurricane's coming, it's going to be ugly. I don't want to find out in 3 weeks that you had the best idea in the world, you didn't tell us, and we could have saved lives. So I empower all of you to be speaking. If you see something that's not going right, you need to talk about it. So we do this right. That goes into our no tolerance for sexual assault and sexual harassment, but it also goes into our day-to-day business. So if that young specialist, who could be a CEO in a company, so you got to remember that it's not what they look like, it's what they are, may have a damn good idea, and in their company they do this. You will get impatience. Why can't I be a chief? I've been in the military for 5 years. I want to be a chief. And you just got to smile. But now you're going to have to bring them into your world. Because they're used to moving, up, lateral, sometimes backwards, but always moving and always having a goal. And we have the same thing. It just, with time comes experience. And that's the one thing they have to build in our world, is experience. But don't squash them, don't quash them. Remember the time when you were a seen but not heard specialist or a senior airman? Speak when spoken to. Other than that, keep it to yourself. That's not the way that's not going to make us better. I think you're going to get that feeling here from this crazy place called Capitol Factory. I've been to a couple different meetings. I was here when they rolled out AFWorks. Was here when Texas Futures Command or Army Futures Command is coming here. Surrounded by these innovators that are not bound by any kind of boundary. They will try, they will fall, they will get back up, just like we do. But they don't have the Rock of Gibraltar called the DOD. We can't change, that's never going to happen. They go, why? And they're going to say why. That used to be the critique of the Army to the Air Force. That we just hugged a lot, and we used to vote. Who wants to do PT today? Neither do I. So, and at least that's what my buddies tell me. My friends, oh yeah, you guys vote on everything. The airmen run the show. Well, it turns out that we get a collective agreement and we move on. The commanders are going to go. And it's whether or not people are going with a smile or a grimace on their face. And that's the key for you all as a senior enlisted leaders. They can grimace, but generally make sure they're smiling as they go. Give them a reason why, what's going to happen. So, NCO 101, you all know that. But for me, for putting people first, the idea is treat them the way you'd want to be treated, not the way you were treated. That's that little paragraph. I'll leave that comma off. That last statement, well, by God, I had to do it, you're going to do it. We still have plenty of that. There's a lot of things that we do in the military that are just that way because that's how it is. Some of the things are exactly right, because you can't get your expert marksmanship badge unless you learn how to shoot. You can't learn how to shoot unless you learn the basics. So we still have to do those things. But other things, why not this way? And our challenge is going to be the millennials. It's probably not, it's your challenge now, but think about your E6s. It's really going to be their challenge. Because they're the tweeners, and your E5s, and they're your best tool. Because they can understand that stuff they're saying, and they can translate it to you. So you probably got to use your translator, so you got to have a millennial translator versus a Hua-Hyatt translator to be able to communicate with the kids these days and figure out what their needs are and see if we can meet them, or at least get somewhere to them. I talked to a lot of senior enlisted Army from 2 weeks ago, or was it just last week? Yeah, just last week. So these guys, they're meeting their butts off about talking to your folks. And I still promise you that we're going to have a program. I'm going to ask you to talk to your 3 people, and they're going to talk to their 3 people. They're going to talk to their 5 or 8 people. The platoon sergeant and the squad sergeant in the Air Guard, in the Security Forces Squadron is going to probably have to talk to the most people. But they've got to understand what we need from them. We got to tell them what it's going to take for them to get promoted, and then we got to make that happen. And it's a contract for success. We're not going to go to school for them, but we're going to give them the reins, the tools, let them go. Who's ever ridden a horse? How about when that instructor let go of the horse? Of course, the horse follows the instructor. There's nothing you can do about it, right? This isn't going to be this way. You let go of the reins, and they're going to go on. Now, you're going to go along with time, check on how they're doing, and then you're going to go back to doing what your business is. And I'm asking us to do this about every 2 years. It'll be a formal program. It takes 5 minutes. What have you done for you? What's the Army done for you? They're done for you. What can I do for you? So we can match up expectations and reality, and not let budget be our boundary. Oh, I can't get you a school slot. Many times we don't get school slots for folks because we don't ask, because we thought we didn't have any money. We're going to turn back some money, not we, not us. Texas is pretty good with money this year. Other states are turning back dollars that I wish I knew about last October. We could have sent soldiers to school to meet their needs. What's one of their biggest needs? And I could be promoted. We're giving them jobs of high responsibility. We're not giving a rank to them. Now, the people I can't help much, but we're working on is the AGRs in all services, but we can help everybody else. AGRs are a little bit bound. We're trying to work that away, but we can work the rest to give them opportunity. You all got, somebody mentored you, maybe some of you many times, both positively and negatively. So, my saying is, treat you the way you want to be treated. No one of us is smarter than all of us. Mentor.